Alright, so it's one of Bruce Willis's 25 straight-to-VOD movies that he does a year now. I guess the guy's gotta pay the bills somehow, so I guess let's talk about it. Why the fuck do I watch this shit? Apex is brought to us by director Edward Drake and stars Neil McDonough, Bruce Willis, and some other people. 6 elite hunters pay to hunt a man on a deserted island, only to find themselves become the prey. Okay, so it's no surprise that this isn't a good movie. I don't think anybody who clicked on this review or watched this movie thought, hey, this is gonna be a great movie. You're probably just here to hear about how bad this movie is. Well, like I said, it ain't great, but I will say that there are a few glimmers of hope here and there, but that might be because it's based on The Most Dangerous Game, and I really love the story of The Most Dangerous Game. Now, we've seen the story of The Most Dangerous Game played out on the screen I couldn't tell you how many times now. But have we ever seen it with Bruce Willis? No! Did we really care to see it with Bruce Willis? No! But that's what they gave us anyway, because Bruce Willis got to pay his mortgage or something, I guess. Now, it's got a few little differences here and there, but it's basically that story. You got a guy, he's put on an island, there's some hunters going after him. If he can make it a certain amount of time or kill all of them, he wins. If not, his head ends up on a trophy case. Neil McDonough is like the big dog hunter of the group. That's about it. That's what we got. We got people out in the woods hunting Bruce Willis. Now, the movie takes a bit of a different approach because Bruce Willis's character, in a really half-assed kind of way, sort of turns all the characters, all the hunter characters, against each other, and they start to take each other out instead of focusing on him. Honestly, his character does not do much as far as like fighting them. If you look at the things that his character is doing on screen and the amount of time that he's on screen, I wouldn't be surprised if he was only on set for like a day or two. Most of his screen time is just him walking around in the woods eating berries and shit. We get a little bit closer to the end that he does just a bit more, but he ain't doing much here. He shows up a fair amount of the movie, but like I said, it's mostly cutaways of him all by himself walking around in the fucking woods, every now and then peeking around a tree. He's never really like in the same scene as other characters, which leads me to believe he wasn't there. They just took his ass out to the woods and said, walk around and do some shit. And then in the end, he has like a little bit of a gunfight with a couple of people. That's about it. He probably made more than I will make in a decade by spending this day and a half to 2 days on set too, which is pretty fucking sad. But whatever, I'm not sour about it or anything. Now, this isn't like a blockbuster movie with a huge budget. It does have some effects going on in it, and I think they did a reasonably good job with them. We get some special effects, some CGI effects here and there. They don't look terrible, I'll give them that much. I mean, we get a couple of planes flying around. It is in the future. It's not like real far in the future. Apparently there's been a war already, and this island is left over from the war, and that's why nobody's there, because there's some radiation or something. I don't fucking know. It's really throwaway the way they explain it. There's teleportation, and that shows up a couple of times, and a bunch of fucking holograms. So it is the future. We get some effects, and they're decent. They don't look terrible. Most of the weapon effects in the movie, I think, were digitally done as well. I could be wrong, but that's a good thing that I'm wondering, because they looked fairly good too. Overall, the movie looks fairly good. I mean, it's nothing just like mind-blowing, but it doesn't look bad. It doesn't have that cheap look that a lot of these movies he's been in recently have. The performances aren't necessarily bad, except for Willis's. We'll get to him in a second though, but the characters that these performers are performing, they're bad. There's just not much there. Neil McDonough does what he can with the material, but he's more or less just playing Neil McDonough. This is the kind of character we've come to expect from him. As a villain goes, I mean, he's fine, I guess. He's not like boring, I'll give him that much. He was okay to watch on screen. Now, Bruce Willis, like I said, it seems like he was only there for like a day or two. It seems like he showed up and said, I'm gonna say these things that are on this piece of paper right here, and then you do with it as you will. You can insert things or just make me look like I'm doing whatever, because I don't give a fuck. I'm coming on here, I got my motherfucking movie check, I'm gonna say these couple of lines, I'm gonna hit craft services, and then I'm getting getting the fuck out of here. He clearly gave no fucks whatsoever. The only reason that he is here is to have a name to put out there so that maybe people will pay attention to this movie. While I get why movies do that, why studios do, or the filmmakers, whoever decided to put Bruce Willis in this movie, I get why, because he's a bigger, well-known name. But at this point, when Bruce Willis is in your movie, people are just kind of assuming it's not gonna be good now. I think it probably would have been better to just put someone else that was lesser known, that would actually care and do a good job, and you could probably use more and utilize better in the movie, and it would have made your movie better. Because honestly, while this movie's not great by any means, all the other scenes, the stuff that's happening in the movie isn't necessarily bad. I mean, there is some light entertainment to be had here. I get the feeling that they wanted Willis's character to be more involved in the story. They wanted him to be going up against these characters a bit more, but they just wasn't gonna get that, so they had to make what they had work. Which goes back to what I said, just put someone who's lesser known that actually gives a fuck that they're doing this, and you would have ended up with a better performance. And while, yeah, you don't get that name recognition, maybe people will watch this movie and say, hey, you know, this movie right here, never heard of it, but it was actually pretty cool, give it a shot. At some point in time, people are gonna start thinking that and stop giving Bruce Willis these roles. His name is not going to garner that respect or whatever, I guess, in the industry, to where he's gonna show up and they're gonna be like, no, you know what, we'll go get Lorenzo Lamas or something instead, because you just don't give a fuck. Guys, Apex was not a great movie. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, that's for sure, and there are some things here that you could find some entertainment from. But overall, and I think a lot of it has to do with Willis's inclusion in the film, the movie does come up significantly short. It's based on a classic story, and we do get some of that on screen, but Willis not being willing to participate with everyone else just really watered everything down. The effects and overall look of the film are pretty good, and all the other performers, while the characters are really shallow, the performances are okay. And I feel like I would be inclined to give this movie a worth streaming rating had the main character been more involved. But due to Willis not giving a fuck about this thing at all, that just kind of resonated throughout the entire film and brought it down. And at best, if you're wanting to check this thing out, check it out on USA Up All Night.
It's not worth it!
Hi, I'm Gilbert Gottfried.
Hi, it's Ron on USA. Up all night.
It's so big. It's just not worth it!
Having to give this movie that rating is a bit irritating to me because I feel like everybody else involved actually cared. They wanted to make at least a fun popcorn movie, but Willis just wouldn't allow it. I really can't recommend many people checking this out. So there it is, guys, my review of Apex. If you enjoyed and want more content like this, hit that subscribe button and help my little channel grow. If you want to help out the channel, check out my Patreon in the description below and become a jarhead and get some of the awesome benefits to go along with that, like these guys, and possibly join my top tier and become a bad motherfucker like my man Greg C and Dragon Con. If you liked what I had to say, give me a like. If not, let me know in the comments below why. And as always, stay sexy, Kalira.
Your only logical choice is to beg. Beg me to let you live.
This ain't that kind of fight.
Even better.
So I know I made the joke that Bruce Willis is in like 25 straight to VOD movies a year, but really, no shit, this year, 2021, he was, just based on this list I'm looking at right here, 9 fucking movies in 1 year. Worse yet, looking forward to 2022, he is in 10 movies. What in the hell? And reading the names, I don't think his big comeback is included in these 10. They're straight to VOD fucking names. The Wrong Place, Vendetta, Die Like Lovers, Corrective Measures, American Siege, A Day to Die. What in the fuck is this shit? One of these movies is gonna come out and he actually tried in it. He's gonna get like a fucking Oscar for it or something. I'm gonna look like a total fucking idiot down the line at some point. Press X to doubt on that shit though, but hey, you never know.